And now we're recording with Mike Wozni. So thank you so much for joining us today, and take it away.
Okay, Karen, you could maybe start with the first slide.
I can do that for you. Just to give everybody a quick intro, I know most of the gang knows Mike, but for anybody that hasn't met, Mike is one of the special projects leadership members for Destination Northern Ontario. So he's been working on this project for quite some time and is well versed, but has actually created a presentation that is Blind River based. So it's not just a general overview of what other communities are doing. He's actually done the homework to figure out what our revenue base can be from this program. So without further ado.
Sure. And again, thank you very much. Like I said, I've worked with the Minister of Economic Development, Trade and Tourism in the region for over 25 years. So, and that, includes from licensing and economic development plans and funding programs and that sort of stuff. Now I'm, working with Destination Northern Ontario as, on special projects initiative, different sort of things that we're doing. We have this border working group that we're working on, to try to help out some of our northern outfitters to get the tourists back across the border and that sort of stuff. So there's been a lot of moving parts and that sort of thing. Now, one project that I've worked on for the last little while, but it was more or less kind of put on hold for a lot of municipalities, is the idea of the implementation of a municipal accommodation tax. So I'll start talking with that right now and kind of give an idea of what it is, how it's implemented, some issues, concerns, and kind of what it means for Blind River. Okay, next slide. So as we both just said, Regional Tourism Organization 13, it's the largest in the province. We are very well organized in the north between all the municipalities and the regions. We cooperate a lot on joint programs and pan-northern initiatives and that sort of stuff. And the minister has been to the north personally probably about over half a dozen times in the last term that she's had, and she likes the north. She says all the time we're the most organized, we're the most focused and that sort of stuff, whereas all those other guys in southern Ontario, and a lot of them don't get along and that sort of stuff. So she really likes Northern Ontario and what we're doing, and that's a testament not only to RTO 13 but to municipalities like Blind River and all the tourism operators as well. Okay, next. So just a little bit of background on the municipal accommodation tax. Before 2017, there were a number of municipalities in Ontario who needed marketing dollars, and so trying to figure out how to get marketing dollars from, instead of just always asking the hotels or the operators or the resorts for funding. So what they did is they established 3%. It was called a destination marketing fee, and Sault Ste. Marie was one of the very first ones in all of Ontario to do it, and it was a volunteer fee. So all the hotels in the Sault Ste. Marie had to agree to add 3% to an individual's hotel bill, forward that money to Tourism Sault Ste. Marie, who in turn used that money for marketing. He used it to leverage other government programs and funding, and that's what happened. Toronto and Ottawa were two of the others that had DMFs at that time, and they were raising money for marketing and that sort of stuff. So what happened is, so a lot of the other municipalities in the province were looking at the Sioux and Toronto and Ottawa and saying, like, look, they're raising millions of dollars. We want to do that too. And so it's like, well, go ahead, talk to the hotels, and you guys could do it as well. But what happens in all of those other jurisdictions is the motels, they don't get along. They're competitors. They don't like each other. They say, well, if you do it, I'm not going to do it, and all that sort of stuff. So they just couldn't get along. And so at one point, it was brought up to the minister to say, why don't you just kind of mandate a provincial tax or something, so we could all be on a level playing field. So there was a lot of rigmarole going on, that sort of stuff. So what resulted was, instead of the province administering a tax, they said, okay, it's going to be up to each and every individual municipality if they want to have a municipal accommodation tax. And so It wasn't called the DMF, they called it a MAT. And again, it's up to each individual municipality if they want to implement it or not. So next. Yeah, so instead of the 3%, which was kind of like a common amount that a lot of the municipalities using the DMF, 4%, they decided to use 4% because that was more in line with other provinces, other countries, other regions, that sort of stuff. So they established that it could be up to 4%, and all municipalities that have a MAT, they all charge 4%. So what I'll do now is the next few slides are some of the questions and concerns and issues and that sort of stuff regarding the MAT. So next. Okay, so this is probably the biggest impediment, the biggest misunderstanding, the biggest barrier to a municipality not implementing a MAT. Is a lot of municipalities, a lot of residents, some of the businesses like the hotels, they think that the hotel, it's a tax on the hotel. They think it's a tax on the business. It is not. The business, the motel, the hotel does not pay the tax. What this tax is, the visitor pays the tax. It would have been better to call it a visitor accommodation tax instead of a municipal accommodation tax, but you know, that's neither here nor there. So basically what happens, and I'm sure most of you have traveled in the last number of years, if you ever check your hotel bill, whether you're traveling Canada, the US, or other places, you'll see some sort of accommodation tax on your bill. So basically the way it works is the visitor pays it to the business. So if your room's $100, there's a 4% fee. It's called a municipal accommodation tax of 4%. So the visitor pays it when he checks out. The hotel collects it once a month, depending on whatever sort of administrative system you have set up. The business remits it to the municipality, and the municipality forwards it to the eligible tourism entity. So that's how it works. And then the tourism entity uses it for tourism marketing and development, that sort of stuff. So basically that's the process in a nutshell. Next. One issue that's come up in the last number of years is people who rent out their cottage or place as an Airbnb or VRBO, which is vacation rentals by owner, basically the same thing. And they're saying, does the municipal accommodation tax apply to those sort of short-term rentals? The answer is yes, it does. So anybody who's renting out their cottage is responsible to charge a MAT and submit the MAT to the municipality and the designated tourism entity that is within that municipality. Okay, that's next. Hotel fees. Again, when the hotel motel does the bill, the accommodation tax is only on the room. So if there are other fees or services and that sort of stuff that could be on your bill, such as if you're renting a movie or charged room service bill for food and that sort of stuff, the MAT is only applied against the room. So next. Is there another question is, okay, you got this MAT tax, now do you charge HST on it? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes. There is a tax on the tax. It's not pretty, but the federal government demands that's the way it is. So you actually have, so if the room's $100 and you have a 4% MAT, on that 4% MAT, it would be your HST charge to that as well. And that is usually shown as a separate line item on a hotel bill. Next. Okay, this is about, so can the funds be part of a municipal company, be channeled to an economic development corporation? The answer to that is absolutely yes. And as a matter of fact, that is the best way to channel the funds. Some municipalities have a DMO, which is a destination marketing organization that they use, that they channel the funds. But those types of organizations are often kind of limited in what they could do and not do and that sort of stuff. Some of them volunteer, some of them aren't very well organized, that sort of stuff. So the best format is to, once the hotels submit their their MAT revenue goes to the municipality, the municipality gives it to the Economic Development Corporation. So that is entirely possible, and that's the best way to do it. Next. One thing I want to say is that the use of the funds that goes to the Economic Development Corporation, it says here, are used for exclusive purpose of tourism promotion, but the regulations actually allows for the development of tourism projects and tourism initiatives and capital projects and all those sort of things. So the money through the EDC, or your Economic Development Corporation, can be used for any sort of tourism capital projects, which I'll mention a little later, can be used as matching funds for government programs and that sort of stuff. Okay, next. There's the one question was, who collects it? Could somebody else collect it? Does it have to be a municipality? Yes, you can have somebody else collect it on your behalf and that sort of stuff, but the vast majority, the municipality does it. There's no need to be bringing in some contract firm or some individual or somebody else trying to, it just makes a mess, and it's not necessary. Generally speaking, once a hotel or motel is set up for submitting the MAT to the municipality, it's just a routine little entry, and it goes to the municipality into their account, and that's it. So like I said, most of the municipalities, that's the way they do it. Next. Okay, so I guess, I know if a lot of you travel a lot, but a lot of people say, well, why is Ontario doing this? We're the only one that's charging this tax. Well, again, the reality of it is no, absolutely not. I mean, if you travel through other provinces, if you travel in the US, if you travel through Europe, they call it, some places call it a value-added tax, some people call it a visitor tax, some people call it a fee, whatever it happens to be called in different jurisdictions. Many hundreds of jurisdictions, countries charge a municipal accommodation tax type of fee. Like I remember a little while ago traveling to Indianapolis, and I'm staying in a hotel, and they had an accommodation tax, and then they had like a stadium fee on my hotel bill. And I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm paying for the freaking football stadium. In some places, like I say, aside from a MAT, some jurisdictions, they'll stick a whole, they'll stick a business improvement fee on there. They'll stick like a stadium fee. They'll stick another kind of fee. So sometimes your bill could be 15, 16% additional just in all these fees. So the idea that the Ontario has a MAT is, again, it's something that anybody who travels a lot expects, and it's not a surprise. And generally speaking, it's not an issue to have a MAT on your hotel bill. Next. So this is not a very good picture, but I guess that's the regional boundaries of your municipality. So that's kind of with your area where you can impose a MAT on any sort of short-term accommodation facilities in that region. So next. Okay, so I can just talk about opportunity. As I kind of just mentioned, is that tourists are accustomed to paying an accommodation tax. Like, again, it's common in Canada, it's common around the world, it's common in municipalities in Ontario, and that sort of stuff. So it's certainly not something that is a detriment to somebody traveling to an area. Again, originally, when a few years back in 2018, when people started charging a MAT, people said, well, they're not going to come here because we got this fee. People are going to, it's not the case. It never was the case, and certainly hasn't been the case. Right now, there's just over 46 municipalities in Ontario have already implemented a MAT, collecting millions and millions of dollars. I think right now, annually from them, they're collecting over $100 million. So and there's about, I think, 9 municipalities that are, like Blind River, looking to implement, 9 municipalities are going to implement a municipal tax. They're in the process of doing so. So I think, and some of these municipalities are big municipalities like Toronto and Ottawa, but also includes Hearst, Kenora, Sioux Lookout. So it's certainly something that all municipalities in Ontario The progressive ones, I'll say the progressive ones are doing it because it's a readily available annual source of revenue for a development corporation in tourism marketing development. So one other thing is that an issue sometimes when a municipality wants to implement a MAT is that, oh, geez, we don't have, we don't have a DMO, we don't have an economic development corporation that's a separate entity. And so they got to wring their hands and figure out what to do. And it's a big process. You guys, Blind River is set up perfectly. The Blind River Development Corporation is perfectly set up. The mandate that you have is perfectly set up. The track record that you guys have done is perfectly suited to accepting revenue from MAT. So you guys are like, honestly, like 80% there already. Next. And I just did a little cursory review kind of based on the room inventory of Blind River. I looked at the average daily rates over the past few years, as well as occupancy rates. We get these figures from CBRE, which is a international consulting firm that charts these rates and occupancies throughout Northern Ontario as well as Canada. So, and I came up to around, you guys could collect anywhere from $84,000 to $92,000 a year. Now, again, these figures are a little bit, they're just an estimate and they're based on inventory at a few years ago. And the thing is once you include the MAT from the Airbnb and the VRBO, I would expect that to be, well, not expected, that number would be higher. And again, Airbnb and VRBO, those are people who rent their cottage. And, maybe, I don't know who, maybe if you know people who have a cottage and rent it, maybe they feel that they shouldn't be paying the MAT. But the reality of it is the municipality and the Blind River Development Corporation, you are the guys that are building infrastructure. You are the guys that are making a marina and having trails and attractions and things that people want to come to Blind River to see. People aren't coming to Blind River to stay at Joe's Cottage. They're coming to Blind River for the outdoor experience, for all the sort of amenities that you guys have developed. So the fact that there is a MAT that goes back towards you guys to continue to do that. And again, the municipality has the legal jurisdiction to have the MAT and to include on Airbnb, VRBO rentals. So if you guys implement it, it's just something, it's like paying the GST, they just have to do it, period. Okay, like I said, it's the nice thing about implementing a MAT, it's an annual revenue stream. Okay, so this will be coming in every year, year after year. And the thing is it will increase every year, year after year, because as hotel room rates go up, your MAT revenue will go up. As occupancies go up, your MAT revenue go up. As you get new builds in the region and new hotel rooms and new rooms, your MAT revenue will go up. And that's maybe I can mention that as well, is for a hotel to go into an area that has a MAT, it's, some people may think, well, oh no, I don't want to go there. They have to add extra 4% to the room. Well, it's actually quite the opposite. Investors or hotel developers, they like to go to a place that has a MAT because that certainly demonstrates that the municipality is well organized, that the municipality is well funded, that the municipality has a focus on tourism marketing and tourism development, those sort of things. And that's actually a very attractive feature if you are attracting future, hotels, motels, lodges, and accommodation properties like that. Yeah, and another good thing, and I'm sure this is not new to any of you who've accessed government programs before. A lot of the government programs, you have to contribute 50%. There are some programs, and Karen's been a rock star, applying to a lot of programs in the last little while. Like when you guys had like over $3 million in projects that last a little while, and you always have to kick in a few dollars of your own. The nice thing about with the MAT revenue is you could use that as your matching dollars for a lot of these projects. So essentially what that does is it saves the municipality hundreds of thousands of dollars in the coming years, instead of a municipality having to cough up, you know, 100,000 or some or whatever to get 900,000 for marina expansion, although you don't need to do that because you just did it. But you could use the MAT money for it. And so now the municipality use that $100,000 for other stuff. So, I mean, it's really good. And even for simple marketing programs, if you were bringing in $90,000 in a year and you wanted to apply to FedNor for one of their marketing programs, you know, all of a sudden you get $184,000 to market. And again, using your MAT dollars, you could use as your matching dollars for all sorts of initiatives like that. So it's just win-win all over the place. And again, the nicest thing about it is that it's not a tax on the community, it's not a tax on the residents, it's not a tax on the businesses. This is something that the visitors pay, and visitors do this every time they travel, no matter where they travel. Okay, next. So we talk about maybe for yourselves the next step. Like I said, the first big step is having a legal, appropriate entity to kind of manage and spend the funds and that sort of stuff. And again, you guys are like 80% to the finish line already with the Blind River Development Corporation. So basically, really, the next steps for you would be to pass a resolution. You know, and then you would set up an administrative process for collection. There are, again, this is being done by, you know, how many municipalities did I say? Yeah, the number of municipalities in the province and more. And there's processes and there's forms and stuff that they will surely share with you to make the process as easy as possible. And then, you know, that again, the Blind River Development Corporation, you set up your framework to how to spend the funds. And again, you guys already have strategic plans and that sort of stuff about what you want to do and don't want to do and where you want to spend. So it's really would be quite, you know, seamless and quite an easy process for you to implement a MAT and then start spending it. And, you know, I can't, you know, stress the fact enough that this is it's a great opportunity. And if you don't do this, I mean, you could do the math. If you don't implement a math, you literally will be giving away over $1 million in the next 10 years that you could have had. And I mean, you take that million and you leave it up to other stuff. That's a lot of money missing out for the community. So I think it's a great opportunity. And like I said, it's being done across the province. Everybody else is doing it, not in the province, around the world. It's a good opportunity to generate funds like severe tourism, which alleviates financial burden from the municipality for other things. So I guess the last slide is the conclusion. Is like I said, it's a great opportunity. Everybody benefits, and if you decide to move ahead, certainly Destination Northern Ontario will help you out, as well as, you know, Tayo and everybody else. They all have frameworks on what to do. I guess maybe the advantage of being a little bit late to implementing a MAT is everybody else kind of did all the legwork when it comes to setting up accounts and processes and that sort of stuff. So it's pretty painless just to adopt one for yourself and move on. So that's about it. If anybody has any questions, feel free to let me know.
Thank you very much, Mike. So I see a few hands. I'll start a speakers list, and I'll start with Jim and then Betty Ann.
Thank you, Chair Quastraro. Hi, Mike. Thanks for the presentation. Yeah, I think your numbers were, I believe it was 44. You said the municipalities, or 48, and I believe there's 444 municipalities in Ontario.
Yeah, I think there's, okay, you're right. It's around 46 municipalities, right?
Yeah, so that's not a huge amount. I mean, I do see it growing.
But you know, again, if you want, I can look at, even though there's a large amount of municipalities, I'm sure, you know, some municipalities are very, very small and don't even have hotels in their jurisdiction. But I'll bet you if you look at the municipalities that have a MAT based on the population in those municipalities, I'm guessing, but I'm sure you probably have probably be 3/4 of the province population in those ones.
Yeah, much larger centers, I believe, you know, with maybe 100,000 plus populations. But anyway, that's not where I'm going. I think
Okay.
it's a great idea. It's too bad we hadn't gotten on board earlier. We just had 2 lodges here in the town that had multiple dwellings on it that were basically filled all summer, and they've gone to going into a private entity, becoming private property now, and they're not going to continue with the dwelling. So we could have had further income from this. So when you did your quickly your amounts there, were you utilizing just the motel hotels as far as, I guess, McIver's would
Yeah,
go?
I was, you know what? We have a database here of like over 1,300 tourist offers and that sort of stuff. So I basically just use the hotel motels within the municipality. And I have the numbers here. It came to like 100 and some rooms. So it wasn't a heck of a lot. And I just used average daily rates and occupancy rates and that sort of stuff. So.
And when you say implement it, I mean, through a motion or here, does that force these motel, hotel, Airbnb owners, that forces them that they have to do this?
Yes. Yep. It's legislation. It's like PST.
Would you suggest maybe being a little transparent and having some conversations with these people first, or do you just
you know what,
for transparency instead of just waking up one day with this?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, certainly wouldn't hurt to do a little public relations campaign to all the hotel motels. Say, look, we're looking at a mat, and these are the benefits of it. Well, you know, a lot of things I just said right now for marketing, that sort of stuff, and we're looking at implementing it. And again, like I said, most places, not most, but a lot of places that you go, you'll see an accommodation tax. So it's not going to be anything different for Lakeview Inn or something having a 4% mat on his bill when, you know, when you stay in this Sudbury, you pay 4%, you stay in the Sioux, you pay 4%, you know, so.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
And Karen, I'm sorry, Katie, did you want to follow up on that? And then Betty Ann is the next speaker.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, through you, Chair Pastor. I just wanted to remind council that we do have a notice policy. So anytime that we're implementing any new fees, we would definitely hold a public meeting. We would do PR work with the hotel owners to bring them on board so that they're fully aware of what the process is and what it looks like. So we would definitely have a plan in place to address that so that we weren't just slapping them with extra work without them knowing the full process.
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right, Betty Ann.
Thanks, Jen. I just wanted to say I was around when these were first being implemented, and it is a great idea. I would have pitched it to the council 5 years ago, but I didn't think council had the appetite for it at the time. But we have really come a long way with our tourism projects and our offerings. And this really is a great idea. I'm all in favor of it for sure.
And were there any further questions? If not, I have a quick question. So with 46 municipalities out of the 444, like we were discussing, is this a new initiative or has it been around for a while? And if it has been around for a while, those 46 municipalities that have signed up for the MAT tax, how has it been a pretty easy, seamless, efficient process of collecting those MAT taxes? I can just see with the introduction of like the Verbo, the Airbnb and Hip Camp and stuff like that, that might be a little bit of a nightmare. But how has it been collecting the MAT taxes for the municipalities that are involved?
Like I said, generally speaking, from the ones that I've been involved with, like whether it's Sault Ste. Marie or even the larger centers, I get you asked about how long it was. So it was in 2017 is when they passed the regulation. So it was allowed for people to start collecting it legally in 2018. Now it took a year before people kind of figured out what to do and not do. And then you saw a lot of these municipalities implementing it in 2019. And then, you know, what happened is we had COVID and nobody's doing this, that, the other thing. So kind of a lot of times slowed down the process a little bit. But yeah, so it hasn't been around long. Like I said, before the MAT, there was a thing called a destination marketing fee where local municipal hotels would voluntarily do it. It was their own accord. But the MAT tax is, it's under the municipal act, and people have to pay it. Now, has it gone over well? Again, my understanding initially, like back about 3 or 4 years ago when it was new, there was a lot of hand wringing and people thinking, oh no, we put a tax on the room, nobody's going to come here, or they're not going to go. And I think what has happened is that hasn't happened at all. They've implemented it. It's been pretty seamless. Again, the thing is it's a common fee or tax that most people who travel, whether around the country or in other jurisdictions, pay, and it really hasn't been an issue from that standpoint. Not to say that won't be an issue for some places, but generally speaking, again, and for the hotel, it's on your bill. The customer sees it. It's all very clear and transparent. The money gets forwarded to the municipality, and that's about it.
Yeah, the MAT tax definitely seems like it would create an equal playing field. So no one business would be put out, like you say, like it was when it was optional. So
Yeah.
definitely it looks like an amazing opportunity. Just one final question, just if so what would a municipality do if a business does not pay their share of the MAT tax?
The course of action you would have would be the same course of action if they didn't pay their municipal taxes. It's the same. It's the same like requirement thing. So whatever you guys do, sending out notices, that sort of stuff. So it would be no different from them not paying any other sort of bill to the municipality.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? And Jim, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Again, Mike, what exactly can the municipality use this MAT tax for? Because when you're looking for taxes, the residents or the tax rate, the payers, they want to know what are you utilizing it for, and what can you utilize it for?
Yes, and that's where by going to the Blind River Economic Development Corporation, it can be used for obviously tourism marketing, and also any sort of tourism related sort of development projects. And if the there is an option if the municipality wants to, how should I say, share in some of that money for different projects, they could do that, but they have to be economic development sort of, tourism related sort of projects. You know what I'm saying? There is a little bit of gray area there, but yeah, it's for that's why using the Blind River Development Corporation is perfect. It's like, well, what's the money used for? Well, what does the Blind River Economic Development does? It's the same thing.
Thank you so much. And yeah, just using those funds for leveraging just the benefits are endless, and the possibilities are endless. And I think that, as you can see with our rock star over there of grants, we're doing great, and this would only add fuel to that fire so we can improve the town. So thank you again so much for presenting. And Karen, did you want to say something? I saw.
Thank you. This is just one quick comment to support Betty Ann's claim that you made, that the council of the time when this was being implemented, there was a sense of a fragmented approach before this term, where after we've established a strat plan, we've established an economic development strategy, we have vision boards that we've been following. We're rather unified in our goals. We may not all agree, but we all have the same end goal in mind. This is a way to help keep that momentum going while we face other infrastructure pressures. And when budget time comes, and you know that I am the queen every year of I need some walking around money to work with, this can be the walking around money. So the taxation that comes from the ratepayers of Blind River is then spent on water, wastewater, and linear infrastructure. So that is purposefully also why this presentation is here today before we head into our budget chat next month, because holy cow, it's already halfway through the year. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Mr. Wosny, for your presentation.
Okay. And again, as you decide to move forward or whatever you want to do, I'll certainly work with the council and Karen and everybody to kind of, help get you information, get you the procedures, blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. So, and again, the nice thing, like I said, about being in a little later is kind of like, all the mistakes have been made, right? And so all the processes are a lot smoother now. So it'd be good for you guys. And again, the fact that you already have the development corporation set up is just perfect.
Awesome. Thank
All
you so much for your partnership and your support. And we look forward to seeing what happens with this.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll
Okay.
sign off.
All right, so I didn't see any motions with that. I think it's just a presentation, food for thought, definitely interesting. And especially how we've been leveraging our dollars this past few years. That's pretty exciting. All right, so we'll move on to staff reports, section 6. We'll start with 6.1 with Karen talking about the Bike Summit 2022. Take it away.
Thank you, Chair Postero. So this is, I apologize, it's repeat. I created these reports as soon as the events were completed. Blind River and Mississauga First Nation, though, shined like pure gold at the Ontario Bike Summit. So our brand was out there. We had the president of Trans-Canada Trail, Eleanor, singing our praises, sitting with the chair of the Great Lakes Waterfront Trail. So I know everybody in this group is well versed with Marlene and Dave and that gang. Their heart is in the north. They want to plan more excursions in our area. It's hard to put into words because when you see people that are truly passionate about something, praising your community and then saying that it stood out when they passed through so many different locations, it really struck a nerve. It was nice. So we've been invited back and they want to see ours. So our being MFN and Blind River's update next year, because they are in support of all of our all of our projects that are happening this year. And they want to see the outcome because we're creating a huge sense of place and experience on the trail. So big shout out for all of us on that.
Thank you. Were there any other questions? No. All right, moving on to 6.2. Again, Karen is talking about our vision boards and priorities.
Yeah, so we'll keep this as a standing item, but we've made progress in some of these areas, and we did make sure to update the new priority items such as water, sewer, our linear infrastructure, the transition thoughts for seniors housing. So creating that dynamic model that keeps seniors independent longer, teen recreation, the boom camp launch, and creative approaches to housing. So those are front of mind for staff and will continue to be. I hope everybody, I know it seems almost kind of sad that we're heading into an election, but this is one heck of a list of accomplishments for the last 3 years as we head into the summertime. And the staff is committed to continuing each and every one of these line items until they're completed and then taken to the nth degree of amazingness. So not only achieve it, but let's keep it going and let's make it even better. If anybody has any questions though, if they think any of the X's should be progressed or just comments in general, now's the time.
I see Mayor Hegwin, go ahead.
I just want to commend the staff. This is an amazing list and so much has been accomplished in the last 4 years, and it's definitely due to the staff's initiative for taking these things on. And you can tell when you're talking to staff how proud they are of the things that are going on in the community. It's good makes better and better makes great. And so you can really see this. And I think definitely for council, it's nice to see things are ticked off and they're not, I don't like to say the word ticked off, but you know what I mean. They're checked off. And so it's nice for us also to see that. A lot of times historically, we've seen strat plans collect dust. This one has done anything but collect dust. And I think that, as I say, you can be proud of that. And it's always exciting when you see completed, but there's nothing wrong with in progress and planning underway. So yeah, thank you.
Jim, I saw your mic come on. Did you want to add? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it's fantastic. I sit here and I look at my vision board on the wall, and pretty near all of it is all checked off except for the sewer out here to us, Karen.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, 6.3, moving on to Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility. Go ahead.
Cool. So immediately following our last meeting, where we had some funds that were moved in to collect interest, and then the permission to start leveraging, the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility had a really cool grant floating around with a short window. And council and both the BRDC approved our Great Memorial Bench Chair project. This was another mode, if you will, for us to get funding for even more seating opportunities that we can generate that revenue down the line so people can put their plaques on it. So if anybody's wondering why that program isn't up and running completely yet, we are supposed to have notice for this one now that the election is wrapped up. So they began assessing the applications right before the writ was dropped. And then of course, everyone knows it's no secret, all activity is halted. But now that ministry, where one of the leadership folks is actually in the Sioux, well-versed with Blind River, they called prior to the election just to get some clarification on the application, which is always a great thing. Questions are better than dead air. So we're hoping we are successful. We checked 6 out of the 8 boxes for the 8 domains of community life. And keep in mind, this funding opportunity was very broad. So that's how they were able to break down their list. If you only checked off 1, I'm sure the grants that are checking off 6 to 8 are going to be the leading dogs in the race. So what we would be installing throughout the community are even more gorgeous, permanently installed seating. So our Parks and Rec staff don't have to lift those crazy heavy tables every single spring. They're put in with cement footings, so they can't be thrown into our waterways or stolen. They're there to stay. And also, who's to say that somebody doesn't want to sit outside on a winter day, especially if it's a green Christmas, and we pack our stuff up around October. Climate change is happening. So, but to have these things out, and it also establishes a sense of space year round in our municipality. And the other piece to check off more of the domain category items was to install checkerboards. And they're actually going to be made of metal and popped in permanently into the tables. And what we wanted to do was promote dexterity, color. Now we sold this for seniors, but of course, what a cool thing for kids to go and do at lunch too. Like, this is an all age benefit, affordable. And these would be positioned in several areas throughout the municipality. So they're accessible, and it doesn't matter what income or what socioeconomic background somebody is from, they can access the same materials and tools. So that's it in a nutshell. We were going to use $3,000 to leverage to get close to $40,000 worth of tables installed. And again, something we don't have to go to the tax base for.
Cool. Can some of those be backgammon boards?
Sure. Sure.
I see Jim's hand up. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Ostrero. When you say accessible, Karen, will they also be like wheelchair accessibility in some of these?
So what we can do, Councillor Dunbar, thank you, is if we purchase the ones that have 3 seats instead of 4, they're technically accessible tables, but this funding does not cover the pathways. So this might be one of those chicken and the egg scenarios where we've purchased the egg and then the next step is then creating some pathways to get to them, but at least we have the egg purchased instead of not doing anything.
Great. Are there any other questions? All right, so we shall move on to 6.4 and enhancements of product development. Go ahead.
Cool. So this one, my commitment following Maple Acres, having a pop-up at the outdoor rink. I know winter, but it was requested that Janie complete a survey. So we learned a little bit. Now, a reminder, it was a very, very cold day. Not a lot of time to plan, but you can see from the questions and answers and the average transaction total that the folks who did show up showed up with a wallet and didn't mind spending money to have a hot treat warm their bellies with something homemade, and enjoy their outdoor space. So what I've also attached here is Kiwi Park in Sudbury. If you ever get the chance, it is the juggernaut of outdoor experiences, but they have a lot of very generous funders from the community, philanthropists that do like to donate to that park. So don't be discouraged that we don't have that level. But what I did was rob the Sudbury tourism site of the cool little shack that they created that they roll out to their park. And to me, that is Blind River. We could create the coolest copy of that, or allow a merchant to create that cool copy of it. And if somebody was interested in delivering this type of service, whether it is at the ski trails, Young Fox Trail, the outdoor rink, anywhere in our community, let's come up with some sort of fee down the line where, you know what, it's $50 a month to park your trailer, or it's 4% of your revenues, something like that. So why I'm bringing this to the table is to plant the seed that we can have a lot of different little economic creation activities happening, rather than just focusing on that big fish company to come to town. Let's keep our minds open to different options.
I think one of the benefits of being the civics teacher is I can float ideas like this out kind of discreetly. And I'm like, hey guys, what do you think about this for the municipality? And so I did kind of float that out to my class. I'm like, oh yeah, that would be cool. And then because we're talking about the political spectrum, like left, center, right? The lefts would believe that municipality would provide it. However, the rights would believe that a private citizen would provide it. What do you think about this, right? And so it's interesting. The kids definitely thought that this was a viable thing that we could do as a municipality. Me, I'm a little bit more center right on this, where I could see like a business kind of doing this and footing the bill. But I love the idea. So yeah, it's a very interesting concept. So, and there was good reception in the class. Is there any questions or comments on this initiative? Nope. All right. Let's go over to 6.5 and the BRDC proposed budget. And is it, there we are, Ms. Dent. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Just as was in the report, this budget was actually part of an earlier BRDC agenda, but got mixed in with some other things, and so didn't actually get discussed or passed. So in order to have an actual budget for the BRDC, we need to pass the budget. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about anything that's been included or not included. I can try and answer those.
Are there any questions? Has everyone had a chance to review it? All right. And not seeing any questions then, I believe that there is the motion. Would anyone like to move it? And all right, I see Jim and seconded by Paula. So be it resolved that should it be the Blind River Development Corporation or just the committee? So be it resolved that the Blind River Development Corporation approve the 2022 budget as presented. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
All right. And I apologize, this I didn't get quite a chance to dive into the next item as it was updated this afternoon, like today when I was teaching. So I was furiously trying to read through all of it after work. All right, so we're moving on to 7, correspondence for action. So 7.1 is that OHFC agreement for signature. So first off, did everyone get a chance to read that? Okay, awesome. And Ms. Scott, did you? Yep, go ahead.
I just wanted to request Chair Prospero, I need to step out of the meeting, so I'm going to sign off early.
All right, okay, thank you so much. All right. And were there any questions in regards to this? No. All right. So let's go to the motion. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Okay, so moved by Sally, seconded by Betty Ann. Be it resolved that the Blind River Development Corporation authorizes Chair Jay Posterero to sign agreement 7510023, thus entering into an agreement with the town of Blind River and the Northern Ontario Heritage Foundation Corporation to complete the project TIC 243 Cosley Street. All in favor? All right, carried. There's no correspondence for information. Is there any new business? Okay, not seeing any. Our next meeting, I'll leave it at to be determined for now, but I know it will not be on a Thursday, so we're not forcing Councillor Wells to not be included. So if there is a meeting, yep, go ahead, Ms. Hagman. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm so used to not being on mute. Karen, are we going to be discussing next steps as far as the MAT? Or will there be a resolution going forward for this?
So typically the flow would be that the group has accepted the presentation, but if you'd like, I could bring up a new business item right now where I'm seeking direction from the BRDC, and then that gives me some marching orders if you're comfortable with it, which I know we wouldn't do at a council meeting, but so if you're open to adjusting the flow of the meeting, Chair Posterero, I will add the new business item if you want.
We shall do a friendly amendment to the agenda and we will introduce new business. Go ahead.
Okay. So if I may ask from a show of hands, the appetite from this group to bring next steps back to the BRDC in order to implement a MAT for Blind River. Okay.
And Karen, did we need a motion or anything like that? So
Yes, please.
sure. Okay, so I will just on the fly. So be it resolved, the Blind River Development Corporation seek next steps on how to implement a MAT tax. Does that sound okay? All right. And can I get a mover? I see Paula and a seconder, Betty Ann. All in favor? Beautiful, carried.
And then one more, Sue, could you jump on? Sue is our budget guru. Sue, would it be appropriate for the BRDC then to direct the budget committee to include the MAT tax as we're going to be meeting in July, because that would then be part of the public exercise when we're talking about user fees and budgeting for next year?
Or would that be?
We'll have to look into that because the money is not coming to the town directly. The money is going to the BRDC directly. We would have to look at how that would be implemented from a town's budget perspective. It would flow through the BRDC's budget as a revenue line item, and then the offsetting expenses for whatever tourism initiatives coming out of the BRDC's budget. So it wouldn't necessarily be a direct impact to the town's budget, other than we wouldn't be using town funds for tourism related infrastructure things. But we'd have to look into it. I don't know enough about the MAT myself to know how that would work.
Okay.
Betty has her hand up. Maybe she has some clarification. Go ahead. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I have no clarification on.
Okay.
But what I was going to suggest, could it be possibly be part of, could Mike's presentation be part of our public presentation, our next public presentation? The mayor's, the one that you do, Sal.
Through you, Madam Chair, I know that we have the items, and I'm thinking that it might be something separate. I prefer that the hotel proprietors be invited to a presentation, because if they're not there and they hear a rumor, that could cause a problem. And we want to make sure that we're marketing it in the way that Mike marketed it to us. So I don't have a guarantee that at 7 o'clock that they would be able to be at the table listening to an information session. So I'm kind of shying away from that particular item, although I'm 100% in favor of going ahead with the MAT initiative, but I'm just not sure that would be the right place.
Sue had her hand up and then Karen.
Sorry, just to add to what Mayor Hagman was saying, the public information sessions tend to be just a presentation of information. I think for something like this, we would want to make sure that the hotel owners have a chance to ask all the questions that they need. So we wouldn't want to necessarily confine it to a 20-minute or half-hour session during the public information session. I think it needs to be a standalone, give people enough time to get comfortable with the idea and ask all their questions.
A nice dialogue session. Yep. Karen and then Jim.
Okay, so just to clarify, what I'll do is work with Mike to get more of the nuts and bolts organized and then prepare what's needed from both the BRDC and the town of Blind River, because I know a resolution will have to be passed, and then what that has looked like in other communities. And we're just going to follow that same recipe card. Instead of it's already been built, we'll just follow that same track.
Yeah, for sure. I see this as we've initiated the next steps, and then this could also be placed on the next agenda as definitely a priority to see where we are moving forward. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I guess Mike, Karen, he'd know all the pushbacks, from other individuals. He'd have the information ready for these proprietors, these business owners. And I guess my biggest question is, I know Katie's gone, but do we keep a list of all our Airbnbs?
No.
No?
Oh, go ahead, Karen. Sorry. I'm assuming. My personal opinion coming out of my mouth.
I mean, the motels and the hotels, they're easy, but who's doing all the Airbnbs, and they should be included.
Correct. So once this, and this is the piece that Mike was very eloquently trying to be politically correct about, is the VRBOs and Airbnbs have skirted under the wire since people figured out how to start renting their vacation homes and even homes to earn revenue. But you do not get to run a business collecting money, using resources and infrastructure, and not have to give back. So with this legislation that the town would implement, it's going to force them to do it. And they're all using online mechanisms to collect the rental fees. So if any of you after this meeting jump on Airbnb or VRBO and look up Blind River, the lodging prices are going to blow you away. You're going to see listings between $500 to $1,000 a week. And if you think 4% on that, those people aren't going to mind. They're
Some
not
of them are a day, 300
Yes.
a day.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, Councillor Dunbar, it's going to force us to have a record because those places will have to comply.
Well, that's where I see us tending to some new grounds, I guess we're going to be breaking here. Yeah.
That one will be an interesting one, and it will be also a difficult one to collect all that the taxes, because they have skirted under the radar for so long, and it's kind of the wild west. But it was on even the leadership debate, the provincial leadership debate in the election, was how these short-term rentals are really impacting communities, especially Northern Ontario, right? You have speculators buying up all the properties to rent it. So at least that would give back a little to the community if they are forced to pay that kind of little minimal tax. All right. Anything else with our new business item? Nope. All right. Next meeting will be to be determined, not on a Thursday. So now all we need is someone to move for adjournment and second. I have Jim and seconded by Sally, and we will move to adjourn at 4:31.